Hey everybody, welcome to episode 17 of the Mid-Geek Crisis. My name is Joe.
Pedro, Cautious Online.
He's back, everybody. If you watched last week's episode, we had a fill-in beard on the episode. Right. We make sure that we always have beards on this show, at least in some way, shape, or form, even if we have to have fake ones.
Yeah, that's right. We should give all of our guests a beard or put beard on their face there. So yeah, thank you to Jordan, one of our central fans, a good guy to play with. He's in my D&D group, actually, an academic, and that VR show was great. Actually, I was sad that I couldn't be on to ask some questions because I'm listening to it. I'm like, wait, go back.
So let's talk more. I know we bounced around a lot. It was kind of a fun episode, but I scrapped the agenda that we were going to talk about with you just because since it was his time to shine. I kind of we circled around his wheelhouse.
It was a slow news week anyway. I would have.
Yeah, but this week is not a slow news week. Absolutely not.
It's got some interesting stuff.
We've got some interesting, and I wish I could say, oh, we had a whole week's worth of news to kind of catch up on, but all of the news we're going to talk about landed within the past 24 to 48 hours.
Or weekend, yeah, over the weekend. Definitely some news over the weekend, things like that.
So look, let's start off with the earliest bit of news, just because we'll start chronologically, and that is Anthem. The Anthem demo
dropped this weekend. One of the complicated demos that they were releasing, right? The weird boxes matrix where you could play a demo. But this was the free one for everybody.
Right. So the VIP, and I put that in big giant air quotes, is that was the one that you got if you pre-ordered and did all sorts of stuff, and you got VIP access, which went heinously. The client was terrible. People were crashing. You never got to play. There was no VIP.
It was a tough run.
They were alpha. They were like, yeah, it's exactly the scenario that you hate about beta testing, that there's just all you do is get a sour taste in your mouth for a game and then don't want to play it.
That's exactly right.
Yep. But this weekend was the second phase or the second beta, which ended up being the public free beta for everybody. The online test, a beta demo, whatever they call it. They make up new names for every time they do this. Early access, beta, alpha, pre-flight, whatever. We're just testing our server so they don't crash day one thing.
Yeah, like a stress test, right? That's one of the ones they used to call it. It's interesting, right? Because when we started playing back in the day on PC games, they would offer demos, right? You would be able to download the first few levels, or it was like a time demo and you had to type in a code to play past that demo. This was kind of like that, except it was still beta, right? It was demo, but still clearly in the beta stages. So a lot of folks signed in. A lot of middle of the ground reviews coming out from most folks. I don't want to spoil it if we're jumping ahead, but I'm definitely strongly in the middle. I didn't really find it too exciting. I wasn't too upset. I was a strong middle. It was like a solid 2.
B.
The scale's out of 3. Yeah, it's a solid B. It would, I've said this before and I'll say it again. It would be like an A++ if it had come out 3 or 4 years ago. Like if it had come out to fight Destiny, come out to fight Division, come out after Borderlands. Like the loot shooters of the day, of the heyday were then, and this is better than them back then. But it's kind of dated. I don't know, dated is too strong, but it just felt old to me playing it, even though it looked as best as we could do now on our consoles. It was gorgeous. It looked beautiful.
Right.
It played pretty well. It just felt the controls and the mechanics just felt old. The responses, numbers flying up from things you were killing, all that stuff felt really dated.
Well, it felt like Borderlands in that sense.
Borderlands felt like Mass Effect.
Mass Effect, you definitely could feel the Mass Effect strings on it. You're right. This is one of those scenarios where you can tell BioWare has been working on it for the past 5+ years.
Yep.
And they're working on a mechanic that is there from then, and now it's now, and then feels old to now. But It's strange. You mentioned it when we talked about it. Is the voice actors? You can hear that the voice actors are the same ones from Mass Effect.
Oh, dude, it's the same ones, and it's like it gave me chills to hear those voices again.
Coming out of different faces. It was
different faces, but close enough to be the same, right? Like it was like a weird, like a feeling of deja vu through the entire game. Like I had played. Before.
So here's something that I wanted to ask you, since we didn't get to play as much as we wanted to. Did it feel okay? So you're a big Mass Effect fan.
Yep.
And BioWare in general is good stuff. I mean, they've made other stuff other than
Dragon Age, great. Mass Effect, great. Yep.
But this definitely felt the most Mass Effect-y of the rest of them. Dragon Age is Dragon Age. Mass Effect is Mass Effect. This felt like Mass Effect, but then not. It was more shooter based than
felt like Destiny Mass Effect.
It was Destiny Mass Effect.
I hate to.
I know. I hate it too.
It definitely has a little bit of its own feel, and this is always the trouble with science fiction games. I think that if it's not clear in its vision, if it's not like, and I'm going to use TV samples, if it doesn't look like Firefly, it's going to look like Star Wars. If it doesn't look like Star Wars, it's going to look like Star Trek, right? That's the sort of triangle we're looking at from a sci-fi, maybe a little cyberpunk here, maybe a little there. But sci-fi is such a hard area to work with if you don't have a strong vision of what you want to present artistically, and Anthem is just like right there in that middle. It looks like Destiny with the funky power suits, but also a little bit of Iron Man, and then the Mass Effect controls are there, right? You can combo blast, you've got ice and lightning and all this stuff. So, and then they're all in a big nondescript future town that's a little Firefly-ish, that's a little Destiny. It's very weird. It's a
little medieval-y kind of magic.
A little medieval-y, like it was
okay. So for spoilers, if anyone didn't play the demo kind of starts you at level 10, I guess. And the first mission you do is something called, you got to go and get the manifold.
Yes.
But he says, like the guy who calls it, he says, I just called it that. It's like a word that they've never used before, obviously. Right. And the guy that gives you the mission is like bald, and he's got like arcane tattoos of like some sort of script, and definitely talks about like powers and mystical and whatnot. But yet you walk right out of there and hop into a mechanical like Iron Man suit.
Right,
and then
so it's an interesting science fiction concept, and I think it's used a lot, right? Like, think about the role playing game by Monty Cook, like Numenera, where like ancient technology becomes so far advanced that they're almost like magic. There's that famous quote, right, from is it Orson Scott Card? Ugh, someone's going to correct me, but there's an author that once said that like with sufficient enough time, all technology is going to look like magic eventually, right? Like, our phones would look like magic to someone from the Renaissance, right?
Right.
It would look insane to someone before that, right? So, like, I get that. I get that you want to sort of play with that concept because it's a fun sci-fi area to play in, where humans are on a planet that aliens used to live on. This ancient technology is dangerous and scary, and everyone's going to fight over it because it could lead to weapons or control. And so, but like the arcane symbols is all part of that, right? Of course,
right.
Cult to worship it. I get it, and one of my problems with this demo is they just sort of jumped you right in. There wasn't enough
lead up. I had no idea what was going on.
There wasn't enough lead up for you to feel attached to that town.
Yeah,
like I'm just walking around like, F this guy, F that guy. Where's my mission? Like I really didn't care.
They did the same thing that really bugs me about Destiny, where you jump if you've never played the game or didn't start from the beginning, or not even, you know what, I'm lying. It's any version of Destiny, even if you did play from the beginning, they use all of this lingo, like, oh, we must fight the so-and-so, and then defeat him with the plague and the fallen and the arcane and the ancient one, and it's from the past, from the precursor days. All of these like random like history like mumbo jumbo crap. But none of it's explained, and Destiny's like that. They just kind of throw.
It's how I imagine, but like it's weird, right? Like it's watching that enduring Destiny and the way Anthem presents it to you is how I imagine someone who doesn't read comic books is sitting in a Endgame, right? Like, you're just as lost. They're using words that you're like, I know that word, but I don't know how that word infinity what now? Like, like it's that same sort of feeling of lostness. So they're depending on their fans to
fill in the blanks.
To fill in the blanks, but it's all so tropey that the blanks are boring usually. Not boring, but like
right. So that was my other part of this whole conversation was where do we go with this? Like, how generic does this feel without you wanting to hate on it? Like, I don't want to hate on it because it's BioWare. And it looks really cool. And my experience with the game was literally only about 4 hours worth of gameplay because I was so busy this past weekend.
Yeah, I got like 8 hours in.
Yeah, and I played like
dedicated
the first 3 missions, and I love the controls felt fun. Like I thought the shooting mechanic, like the actual aiming and shooting, was not as auto-aimy as Destiny. It felt like you actually could, like the headshots felt satisfying. There was, I don't know how to feel it.
The guns had a good clunk to it.
Good clunk to them. Like the bullets felt like they hit, and the enemies didn't feel like bullet sponges. Like you hit 1, 2, 3 hits would actually headshot whatever, a fallen or whatever they called them. They had a
Doomsguard. Again, like I don't even remember.
Right, I don't even know what they called. They just had the blue glowy faces and like magic shields, and they looked exactly the same as like the Vanguard looking guys from like Gears of War or the big guys when you first start playing Destiny 1. You know what? Can't even. All the worlds and sci-fi lore has mixed and matched in my head that I can't keep track of it, and I don't want to hate on it. I don't. But at the same time, as a sci-fi fan, I'm like, ooh. But then as a sci-fi fan as well, I'm like, ooh. Like how much? Like I feel it's a little more of the same, and I feel bad because you could tell that these games cost so much money and time and effort that we know that they came up with this story. Oh, here's an original story. And then they wrote it down and started it, but then everyone else did at the same time. So you've got these 4 races running to this finish line, and then Anthem is like, wait guys, but read our version of the story, and it's like,
it's tough,
you're
dude.
Just copying everyone else. Like, no,
it's
really,
tough.
ours is original.
I have an acquaintance who works at BioWare, and I think he might be a level designer, right? He's done this work before, so he's pretty excited about it, and I can tell he's excited about it via his Facebook post. I haven't engaged him yet, and I should, but I know his style, and I know he worked hard on this, right?
No, I can tell.
I'm trying not to. I think the demo. Let's approach this positively, right? I think the demo didn't really do a good job of demonstrating to me the compelling story.
Yeah.
It showed me that the game had really good gameplay.
Yeah.
And though
the flight felt awesome.
Flying was cool. The overheating thing I want to complain about a little bit more because I find.
But I think
I always find it frustrating when
right?
They give you a cool thing, and then they give you monsters that immediately take away the cool thing. Like, it feels cheap, but I get it. I can't fly through every single level, but all the little. It felt like I was beta testing the combat module, and they just happened to be story at the press pass, right? Like if I was a playtester, I got a list of things. Go out into combat and explore this quest and make sure you can push all the buttons. And that's what I did in the demo.
Right.
But I still had to get past the story to make sure the bugs were out, right? Like, that's kind of the way I felt. And we also crashed maybe 4 or 5 times.
Oh, really?
On Sunday. Yeah, we had 3 people on. My brother was on, and Fulgrim, one of my regular Sunday buddies.
Yeah.
We played 3-player run. We made it private. We didn't want the 4th to join us because without communication, that game is frustrating. Especially, did you play the mission where you had to stand in the green circle to sort of advance the bars? So it was like one of those like defend this point mission.
But I didn't. So the first mission, the manifold one, has that you have to flip the 3 switches. Like but I didn't understand. Like, there was no
explanation. So we just kept pushing buttons until
and eventually it got. But so it changes green, then like purple
and
red. So like I didn't know if it meant one of each or all matching. And eventually we got it. But like I never.
That was exactly our experience, and we were talking to each other. I couldn't imagine doing it with people who were talking to each other.
I had no idea what happened, but eventually it was like, ooh, and then the follow up to that mission is like whatever you did wrong or whatever, and so you then have to go back and find out what happened there, and you're like, okay, but I don't know what I did to do so.
It wasn't a very good. It wasn't a very good mission to pick, unless they wanted to show how weird their story might be, right? Because the resolution of that particular mission wound up being a very weird resolution. I was sort of surprised that they went the way they did.
Yeah,
but I really enjoyed the cooperative aspect. I mean, like, by the time, because we went, right, the three of us went on the like ultra elite mission that was there to sort of, I hope this isn't endgame content, but it might be their endgame content. Stronghold attack is what we did, and it was a lot of fun. Like, we each picked a different class. We had a Colossus, we had a Ranger, we had the Wizard, and we just sort of like played around with their powers to try to get some really cool combos in there. And I remember Mass Effect multiplayer being that fun as well. You had all the combos and stuff like that. So
yeah, you played Mass Effect multiplayer for quite a bit. You ran through it for over a year. It was
we ran the hell out of Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, but not so much Andromeda because it wound up being the same.
Yeah, well, we don't talk about Andromeda.
This is
BioWare doesn't talk about Andromeda.
Why? I get what. So here's the ridiculousness, right? If they had offered, so Mass Effect Andromeda, the plotline is you go to a new galaxy and you have to explore it, right? You're the Pathfinder in Mass Effect Andromeda, but then you still wind up having to craft, and there's all these sort of stupid gamer things they had to throw in there that ruined the story for me. If they had just taken the Anthem the game and made that Mass Effect and used the same plot line, it would work so much better, right? You're in an exploration group, you've got Iron Man suits because you're a little bit advanced, you're on whole new planets, and shit's gone wonky. There's your Mass Effect Andromeda story, right? Like, it's just weird to me that they went with this whole different thing with Anthem,
right?
Even though the powers are the same.
But then now you have flying dragons and stuff in Anthem, which is
they're in a whole new universe. That's
right. Yeah. Whatever. Right? I get it.
I mean, in Star Wars, we've got flying dragons and creatures that attach themselves to the Millennium Falcon and suck the energy out. How stupid is that, right?
I get it. No, I agree. You know me, dude. I'm the guy that throws popcorn in my face. I
know. So, like,
yay, whatever. But at the same time, we have to talk about fan bases and how much the revolt would be.
Yeah, but you're right. But anyway, so here's the deal. We have a group, right? I have a group that we play. You're in the group when you show up. Subtle burn, right? So Sunday mornings we play our games together. We've got we often go back and forth on our co-op games, and we've got most folks leaning towards Division 2. That's going to be our new hotness, right? But there is all of us who played. My brother, Fulgrim, and myself. We thought to ourselves, like, Anthem isn't that like I want to play more in this universe, which is not a glowing review, but it's definitely like I want to do more with this game. So it might wind up being our late post Division 2 content, sort of like after we've absorbed all the D2 content, we'll play a little bit of Anthem. So there's my review, everybody.
So it's not a day one buy.
Buy later, huh?
So it's not a day one buy for you.
There are no more day one buys for me, Joe.
Right. That's right. I'm sorry. I apologize. It's not a I'm missing out type of buy. I'll wait later.
I'll wait until it's all settled and ready to go and the prices drop.
I guess you told me what I'm going to do now, because I won't buy it. It's one of those games that it's just no fun if you're just sitting there by yourself. No, and it wasn't fun when I played with strangers. I mean, it was very frustrating. People didn't do what they had to do. There wasn't if you ever play World of Warcraft, everyone didn't fight on the flag, right? Like, everyone just ran off and did their own thing. They didn't actually do the mission objectives, which the whole game is about mission objectives. So, right. But yeah, there's the Anthem. There's the Anthem review for the weekend. Solid demo. I hope everyone got a chance to play it. It was much more solid and fun than the VIP demo seemed to suggest. So I wish it well. Can't wait to play it. So I don't know if you noticed, but or if you read about it, because I wasn't there, obviously. But right in the last hour or two before the demo ended, they did have a world event. I saw it pop up on the messages, but I couldn't play anymore. Right? Yeah. So they had like a rift or a tear or like some sort of like wormhole, and something happened, and which leads to story, obviously. So there we go. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I'm interested.
Hey, BioWare's good at this, right? They're gonna. I mean, I had faith with Fallout 76. BioWare is going to do okay. I mean, I hope people pick up Anthem. My worry is that with Division 2 eating up a lot of the MMO players, and this new thing from, if we want to talk about that next dropping, who knows, right? Who knows what the landscape is going to look like for Anthem, which, if we're all going to be honest, looks like a fantastic game that should have come out 2.5 years ago.
Right.
It would have. I think it would have dominated the market until Fortnite came out, right? Like it would have owned the market. So we'll see. Speaking of, right? Should we?
Speaking of, so before I jump onto that real quick, just because I know we're gonna have people going, what are you? I didn't realize I didn't even address it. Where are you? They're like,
that's true.
I didn't register. So I am in a different city right now. I am on a work event, and I decided to film. I'm not going to miss my filming, so I'm filming from a remote location. So if there's any choppiness in this weirdness, it's because I'm connected wirelessly. But
a bunker in the mountains.
Yeah, bunker in the mountains for sure. It's a nice 4-star hotel in Dallas.
But fans of Joe know, and I've shared many a hotel room with Joe and PAX East. It's still a giant mess, right? He's got stuff on the bed.
I'll be fair. I'll share.
You have 2 beds. Yeah, you've got 2.
It's empty except a bag of In-N-Out, which was what I had for dinner. And then the other bed is everything is laid out and it's all open, but it is my one bag and everything else.
So for the record, Joe often beats me to PAX East, checks in, and when I finally arrive, this is the way the hotel room looks. My bed is covered with his shit, and he's sitting on the other bed. Yeah, exactly. 5, 6 or 7 short weeks, right? We're gonna be doing this again, having the same meet. Like, what the fuck, Joe? Get your shit off my bed.
For sure. But yes, so that's why I'm not at home in brighter light. But hopefully the audio isn't too bad, and if you're listening through the podcast, it'll sound okay.
You sound fine. You look blurry, but you sound fine.
All right. So let's talk about the next elephant in the room.
For us.
So I'm gonna start it off with, if you haven't been listening to us before, welcome. If you wanted to catch up on some of our episodes, feel free to. But I will give you a little recap of kind of a reoccurring story in our season of episodes. Yeah, we definitely talked about this, and this is definitely our first arc for sure. And this might be the resolution to this arc. We have constantly talked about Fortnite. And we are not haters of Fortnite as much as there are many of them out in the world. We enjoy it. We think it's an interesting concept. We think it's
solid game changer.
Solid game, a game changer. We see it for what it is. It is changing the landscape for games, and we have constantly said that over and over again. That Fortnite is changing the way it is making developers, long-time developers, gun shy. It is making them rethink their strategies. It is making them pull games before they release. Like, they might have a release window and they've pulled them back and went, nope, we got to do something else. And we now see this is 100% without a doubt a game that is the Fallout
to a reaction to, if you will.
Yeah. And that is this brand new, out of the blue drop. So on Friday, there was a leak. And I say leak because it was so close to the release.
Pretty controlled.
It seemed controlled that Respawn, the developers of Titanfall, were releasing a Battle Royale-based game called, what is it? Apex
Legends.
Apex Legends. And it was a Fallout spin-off.
Titanfall spin-off.
No, it's not Fallout. Titanfall. Titanfall. All these games are
Fall.
Titanfall spin-off game that is Battle Royale. And I got a blurb of the news story and I sent it immediately to Pedro. I'm like, dude, what's going on here?
Surprised, yep.
So we had just talked about how you had played Titanfall 2 recently, and you were like, wow, this is a fantastic first, single player. The multiplayer is a little quieter, but it's probably one of the most original third-person games I think we've played this generation. The control scheme was phenomenal. The running on the walls, the the grappling hook style, the double jumping, the
running
immediate call of the call of the Titan, and then like all of a sudden you're in a giant mech and you're firing down on your small humans.
Really and your buddies jumped up on you. It's so
you
good.
Rip open the hatch and throw the bomb. I mean, it was such an amazing game, but Titanfall 2 didn't do very well.
I think well enough. Should have done better.
Should have done better. I don't understand because you go read any review for the game and they're like, this is a fantastic game. But I don't know what happened. Like no one played it, or the people that did play it didn't play it for long. I don't understand. It's an anomaly. It is. It's like one of those hit movies that comes out that gets like a 95. It's a good. My personal comparison to this would be Bumblebee, the new movie that just came out. It has terrible precursor movies, right? All the Transformers movies, but it's got like a 97% on Rotten Tomato, and all the reviewers are like, it's a fantastic movie, but no one went to go see it.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I don't want to go because no one wants to go see another.
Why would I want to watch a spin-off of a trashy movie with two big bots just
right? But it's exactly that. So Titanfall 2 was a game that, like, I guess no one wanted to touch because I don't know.
Yeah, I couldn't even begin to diagnose what went wrong with Titanfall 2, and it should have moved first-person shooters forward in that direction, or splintered them in two directions, right? Black Ops and Titanfall, and it didn't. It just didn't have the influence that a game like that should have.
Right.
I think Borderlands was really crushing it at the time, right? So, I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, Respawn Entertainment came out, and they dropped. I mean, they sort of leaked on Friday, and then today, Monday the 4th, they dropped Apex Legends, their answer to Battle Royale. Not only their answer to Battle Royale, but I mean, if you've been reading about this, it's also sort of an answer to Overwatch, because it is a hero shooter.
It's a hero shooter Battle Royale mess. And I'm not saying that it's not
20 teams. 20 teams, because it's 23 player teams, so it's 3 players in a team, 20 of them on the map, so you wind up with 60 players sort of going all out. It's got respawns, right? It's got a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
So it's not a die once and then you wait till the end of the match,
right? It's not like Battle Royale, but it is like Battle Royale.
There's roles, so you can be like a healer, so it's kind of like Overwatch or Team Fortress 2. It's Battle Royale.
Smaller and smaller. You do drops in. There's maps you have to fight on, and the maps. it's got a lot.
Let's talk about the one thing. Yeah, I know you want to talk about this. Is
it doesn't have a Titanfall? Like I'm sorry.
It is a spin-off. They have called it a spin-off. It is a spin-off of Titanfall, made by the developers. And what did they do? Is A, they didn't call it Titan anything. Yep. B, they made it a hero shooter with, like, some of them have like magical abilities and stuff, or like special abilities, like whatever. And then 3, nothing that Titanfall had. No wall running, no double jumping, no grappling hook, no Titans.
I don't like what Respawn is sort of, I don't want to say known for, but if you're going to make a first-person shooter and you're going to put your name on it and you're Respawn, you better have double jump, you better have wall running. You've designed this, you've perfected this, and you're going to be like, so we took this hero shooter, we took Overwatch, and we took Battle Royale, here you go, and it looks great. but why would you not give me I would have downloaded it in a second if it had Titanfall, right? Like if it had me summoning a big bot and I can blow up some guys, and even though I would probably get sniped across the way by a bunch of 12-year-olds.
You give me 30. You cut that amount of people in half from 60 to 30 because mechs are bigger or whatever, and they require more polygons or whatever BS you want to give me.
Oh, maybe that's it. Yeah.
You give me 30 Titans on a map. 30 Titans on a map, and allow me to like jump out of my ship and do the double and give me a Battle Royale Titanfall. Day one, I would have forgotten all about all of the other Battle Royale games.
It was fantastic. And the circle's closing in, and you have to.
Yeah, that would have been
like a little bit of destructible environments. I don't know. Like it would have been. Oh, so good. And you can still have your hero killer because the Titans are slightly different from each other. It doesn't matter. But I don't know. I don't know why we couldn't have that.
You could have just had hero Titans. Like, give us six different Titans with abilities.
I mean, like, because then we're just playing Mech Warrior, which, hello, give me Mech Warrior. But,
you just answered our question. Give me Mech Warrior Battle Royale. I would throw my wallet at that. Like, come on.
Why hasn't anyone made a Mech Warrior Battle Royale? That makes no sense to me. And not like a grid isometric, but like me in a freaking cockpit and
dude, I mean,
anyway, it looks. I mean, like the release video was slick.
It looks beautiful.
It looks like a lot of fun. It's got like characters that drop portals and
yeah, they look great. You throw like you've got a little bit of Symmetra where you could drop like a portal and then another one somewhere, and you can like run in and heal them and grab them and throw them through the portal so that they so great. But you buried the lead or killed whatever interest I had in it by saying, oh, by the way, it's in the same universe as Titanfall.
But not Titanfall.
No
one knows how to wall jump. Why not?
Did these guys not go through the same training?
I mean, like, I think one of the developers or one of the guys who was talking about it was like, well, we sort of thought that we wanted to have more of a controlled battle where you knew where your enemy was coming from and you can strategize that way. And I'm like, have you played Titanfall? That was still pretty strategic. And also, like, I had a chance because I could wall run for a little while. Like, I don't know. It's a weird response. But here's the deal. I think it is clever in that it does take two very popular genres and makes an attempt to move the ball forward, right? Because otherwise we just get Battle Royale clones and Overwatch clones forever and ever. This takes the two together, and I think could put them together in an interesting way.
Right. What? Okay.
How much more interesting would it have been with Titans?
Let's talk about two more things that we need to talk about. Two more things that need to be mentioned. One.
I love it.
One. Do you want to talk about the 4 different in-game currencies?
So it's 3 currencies, sir.
Is it 3?
4 different things you can buy, right?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I mean, I don't want to talk about it, right? Because it's a free-to-play game, and I get it, but the currencies look like it's a mess. I've read it twice now, and I barely understand it. And that's the way I always feel when I play these sort of free games. I played the free Star Trek online. I played the free D&D online, and it always has like way too many currencies and
you've got the regular currency and the premium currency.
Right. You've got gold, which is immediately worthless, right? And then you've got all this other stuff that you can use, and who knows what they're calling them, right? But it's essentially A-bucks, B-bucks, and C-bucks, and you use those bucks.
A-bucks can buy you B-bucks, but only if you have like 3 billion A-bucks buys you 1 B-buck, because that A-bucks are free bucks. B-bucks are money bucks, and C-bucks are like XP money bucks.
And you can spend XP bucks to get like a shade, but they can't be spent on characters that you can only spend A-bucks on, but you can only get A-bucks by spending whatever. It's already too complicated. I'm sure if you played long enough, you can unlock everything. These games always provide that method, but there's already 2 or 3 characters locked out behind a paywall or time wall. There's a couple of things that I'm like, that's the yesterday of gaming, man. Have you not watched how Fortnite does it? Like, but they also sell season passes, right? So they've stuck everything to the wall to see what happens. I know it sucked enthusiasm. I will probably still download it just to check it out. Because
I'm going to download it. I got the page up right now on this machine. I'm ready to download it.
I love a good co-op game, and sometimes there are days when there's only 3 of us on, right? And maybe we can play a 3-player game, right? So
look, I'm just upset because the second thing on this list of 1, the currency, is 2, there is no Titanfall 3.
This is it.
This is it. So the quote, if I can pull it up real quick, was Titanfall 3 is not in the works. So I'm trying to find the exact quote on this, but essentially they contacted At a press release for Apex Legend, Respawn producer Drew McCoy told Eurogamer that Titanfall 3 it wasn't happening. The world thinks we're making Titanfall 3, and we're not. This is what we're making, he said.
That in our top secret Star Wars game we refuse to talk about.
To try and convince a skeptical audience for months with trailers and hands-on articles, we're just like, let the game speak for itself. It's the most powerful antidote to potential problems we're doing.
I get it. I get that too.
I get it. By all means, Respawn has the pedigree for the game, but look,
you know who else does that? Blizzard, Rockstar.
Yeah, right. No, by all means, guys, I don't want to hate this game, and by all means, let the game speak for itself. If you had dropped a battle royale based game, it just said, here's this new battle royale based game based or done by Respawn, I would have been like, cool, man, like they did Titanfall. But to give me that, like, hey, it's part of the Titanfall universe, but we're not going to reference or talk about or have Titans in it, is a big FU to anybody who liked the Titanfall series. And to cancel or say that you're not working on Titanfall 3 because this is it, is a spit in the face to anyone who enjoyed anything that part 1 and 2 had.
Come on, dude.
Well, let's be real here. Let's call it what it is.
Listen, it's a spit in the face, but you know, like Titanfall 2 didn't.
They had minty breath when they did it. What?
But I mean, like I always think it's a little extreme when a game company that produces a polished game, let's hope it's a polished game, puts work and puts it out there and call it a spit in the face, right? Like the Diablo controversy with Blizzard. I'm like, guys, they made a game. Like, I don't.
Yeah, but Diablo called it Diablo. They went, here's Diablo. You fight Diablo.
It is Diablo. No, imagine if Blizzard had released Diablo and we're like, oh, but this version doesn't have any loot.
This version has no loot. has no loot. It's not magic based whatsoever. You play as a
blacksmith. You're the guy who makes the weapons.
Yeah. All you do. Oh, no. That's too close. Because then I'd want to play it, because then they could say it's a game like Fallout Shelter where all you do is you're the blacksmith who makes all the loot. And I'd be like, sold. Let me play that. No. This is a game. This is a game like if it was based.
That's 2 free games we've given you developers. If you're listening. And a blacksmith simulation game for Diablo. That's 2 right there.
Right there. Boom, I'd play him. But no. This is if you based it on the Diablo universe, right? And you said, by the way, the only thing you get to play as is Deckard Cain. Like him just telling stories, and it's a rhythm-based storytelling game. Enjoy. You're like, what? Oh, by the way, we're not making Diablo 4. This
is it, right? So we've talked about this. We've hinted at this. Let's be serious for a second.
No Diablo 4. Rhythm-based Deckard.
And no Titanfall 3. We talked about this, right? There was a Titanfall 3. Fortnite came out and Respawn said, there's no way we're going to be able to compete with this.
Right.
So they took what they had, and they made it into a battle royale game with some hero fighters. That's what they did. I mean, like, unless they tell me otherwise, that's what I believe they did. They pulled back from the Titanfall 3 development and said, battle royale is where it is. That's where multiplayer is going. We have to have a response to it, and that's what they did.
Yeah.
Hopefully it works. I mean, they're trying the same model. I think it's too complicated with the currencies. I think they should have gone free to play with the battle pass, a season pass, and maybe some sort of like or way to earn V-Bucks, Respawn bucks, whatever you want to call them, and then go from there.
So, again, to bring it full circle, we talked about this. We said that Fortnite was affecting all games. I didn't know it would affect it this drastically. This is a little heavy-handed by just scrapping a whole third part of a game that people like. They had a following. They had a whole history. I mean, you can't scrap a game about mechs, then make a game in the universe with mechs, and then not have the mechs in them.
That's the part that I don't get. Like, why don't you have the mechs?
It'll be DLC. It'll be some sort of event. Maybe
I don't add it as an upgrade, and you can.
Yeah, but then no one's going to care about the heroes and their ability.
Add a fourth currency and a fifth marketplace to cover your Titans. Who knows? I hope.
I don't know.
I mean, like, I'd buy that DLC, though, to tell you the truth. For Titanfall matches, I do that in a second, right? I mean, I download the free version and be like, Apex Titanfall, sign me up. And also wall running. Wall running one is one of the greatest things about Titanfall.
I know. It felt so fluid. Nothing felt as fluid as that. I remember playing Titanfall 1.
I think it was more enjoyable to me to get shot off a wall, which happened a lot, but it always made me laugh when I'm like, I'm going to get away, and I
But it was so satisfying. Like, the kills felt cinematic enough.
And maybe,
running against
having not played it yet, I need to give it a try. I'll give you my review next week. Because I love a good co-op game. Apex Legends, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about the third story here. The other weird story of today
Go ahead.
was Microsoft and Nintendo.
Oh, yeah.
So
was this a surprise? I feel like this was a big surprise.
Yes and no, right? So we know that Microsoft and Nintendo have been like having secret rendezvous at random hotel rooms.
Go on.
Yeah, they really have. Like, you could tell that they've been like buddy. I mean, they did the little video for Minecraft when Minecraft
That's right.
was being released, and they were like, I mean, they literally had both logos on screen in a commercial where they were like, Xbox, Nintendo Switch playing together. Together is better. You know, it was kind of a jab.
It started with Minecraft, right? Was that their first?
Well, yeah, it was their first. They were like, hey, we own Minecraft, but we know we want people to play on the Switch. We're going to give you cross compatibility, and you can log in with Xbox Live on your Switch, and all the skins you bought on your Xbox and vice versa kind of cross over.
What a crazy moment.
Yeah, you could play the game. You could play Minecraft on your Switch, and you're getting Chivos. Like, you'll unlock achievements.
That's a blast.
They were kind of taunting Sony because they didn't have crossplay, especially with Minecraft and with Fortnite. Fortnite wasn't cross compatibility. Eventually, Sony finally went, okay, we're going to do it. And they flipped the switch. They walked into the room and flipped the switch and closed the door and were like, there it is, guys. You know, kind of like very, very ambivalent about, we're getting so much bad press about this. Fine, here it is.
I can't believe people want to play together. That's
I know, we're ludicrous. So you now have got cross-play on some games. And Rocket League is another one that you can do it on. So you could have
Rocket League, Minecraft, and Fortnite are the three big ones, right?
The three big ones now. So you can do cross-play on all of them, but you still can't do Minecraft on PS4. You can do Minecraft on Xbox and Switch and iOS. So you could be on your iPad, on your phone, Switch and Xbox, and playing in the same room.
What a beautiful world.
Yeah, it's just weird. But it looks like that was the precursor to all of this, and the relationship had just been getting bigger and bigger. And it looks like Microsoft is doing another prediction that Pedro and me have been talking about for a few years now on how. Well, let's start with the beginning of this. This particular story started with the fact that we had been talking that consoles, and this is my prediction, I think Pedro and me kind of agree, that consoles are no longer they're just PCs. Let's be frank here. Sony might want to do their own thing, and Nintendo still does their Joy-Cons and weirdness, but Microsoft is really seeing it as, hey guys, we're sick of making new revisions and changing architecture and doing all of this.
Yep.
We're just going to release a new Xbox every few years, and you're just going to be able to pop in any version of the game that you have from whatever age. You have an Xbox One game from 2015, and you've got your brand new 2021 Xbox, whatever we freaking call it. You're going to be able to drop that game in it because we're no longer making a new. We're just Xbox is the the end all be all kind of game platform. If you're just playing on Xbox. That's I just think that's what it's going to be, and
I think you're right, and I think they're gonna offer like upload packs, or they're gonna figure out how
whatever.
to.
Xbox Live is where they make their money. Let's be honest here; they make $50 a year from everybody. They're selling tons of money through Xbox Game Pass as well, so you've got another $10 a month from me from there, and they're giving me tons of games. They're giving me solid online. They're giving me solid audio. They're giving me cross-play with PC. I can log into the Xbox app on my PC and have chat with I know everyone uses Discord, but it's still, you've got this like kind of chat
Plus,
community.
it's your central entertainment center. It's got my Netflix and my Hulu. It's got everything I need.
Right.
I could
So
Twitch off of it if I wanted to Twitch off of it.
right. So here we go. Is Microsoft went software is our strong suit. Let's stop fooling ourselves. We're going to let Intel or whoever make our chips. We're going to make all these other companies make our hardware. Honestly, we're going to just kind of cross-develop it to kind of refine it. But software is our strong suit. So now they announced today that they will have a Microsoft kind of like an API, like a chat social API on the Switch. It's so I think if I'm reading the story correctly and the way it works is they're making it so that any game can kind of tie into the Xbox API, and you can maybe use the chat services. You can use maybe even achievements.
Potential for crossplay, if there is a potential for crossplay. So I think it's they're like building the infrastructure. I think, right, and I think it's fantastic. I think
this is definitely
like
a way.
They're going to turn every console into a Windows console, and they're going to call it Xbox Live, right? It's sort of ludicrous to think about, but this is the realm they want to live in, where everyone's on live, whether they're playing on their Switch or PlayStation or PC or Xbox.
Right. Sony's definitely never going to go for this, for sure. Sony's definitely the out person. They're never. I mean,
imagine. Just close your eyes for a second, Joe, and imagine a sort of horrifying cyberpunk future where we order our Sony game console from Amazon, load up Xbox Live with all the games we've ever owned, and we play Zelda. Like, think about how ridiculously crazy that future is. And
can
how
I listen to my music through iTunes on it?
Yes, of course.
Absolutely. Some magical tech utopia. I don't.
Well, it wouldn't be, right? Because there's just like Sony conglomerate makes the consoles, and Xbox Live owns all the games, and iTunes owns them. It's just big monopolies owning everything. But it would be kind of neat to just buy the console I want based on how much power I need, and have all the games I've ever owned right there in front of me. And Nintendo makes amazing things, and I've got a portable Nintendo system, but I can play anything I want, right?
Here's my prediction to that. It sounds great. I think
sounds great.
I think the hardware is where they don't want to let go of their own patents and whatever. Sony likes to be Sony and likes to have the Sony magic.
I think live. Nintendo, I think if Xbox and Microsoft have shown me anything in the last few years, they're willing to negotiate.
Yeah, no,
that's how they're going to win.
So I've said this before, and I'll say it again on camera for the first time because because
we've had this fight a lot of times.
I really think Microsoft, the humbling of a company changes you, and we learned that Sony could be humbled when the PlayStation 3 just got demolished by the 360 last generation. And the $599 price set of their ego because of the PlayStation 2's amazingness. They thought they could come out the gate and say, people will spend money and just buy it because we are Sony. And they were like $600. And
even I made the switch.
Yeah, and Xbox was like, no. And so they had it cheaper. They had a better online service. They had
pretty good exclusives. Yeah.
So exclusives. I mean, they were killing it. Nothing to say that the PlayStation 3 wasn't great, but it took them to drop the price. It was a very hard system to kind of develop for. They took a lot of beatings on it so that the PlayStation 4 would come out, and they did exactly what Microsoft did. They humbled themselves. They were like, oh, we're for the gamers, and you can rent games. And so Microsoft had to roll back this marketing scheme to go, because Microsoft then became the Sony. With the Xbox One, they were going to have this whole, you're not going to really buy games, they're digital buys. There was just this weird thing, which
you could lease everything you ever want to lease.
Right. It was weird. It was just kind of like
weird, but then everyone signed up for Game Pass like 2 years later. Come on.
Right. But it was going to be one of those things where every game you buy, even if you buy it, you can't resell it. It's tied to your system, and then you can't sell your game. It's just weird. It was a little heavy-handed. So they lost a lot of momentum, and everyone went, "What? I can buy the better, harder, more beefier
More
spec,
hardcore game systems.
PlayStation 4 for
And
cheaper."
objectively, almost every release is always better on the PlayStation 4.
Right, it was. And then, so everyone jumped. So a lot of people jumped ship from the 360, went to the PS4 because it was a cheaper system with more power. Exactly what they did with the 360. So Microsoft had to go back to the drawing board, kill the Kinect, drop the price, and then release the Xbox One X. And then they've been kind of like playing this humble card of like, we play with everybody, guys. We've got Sony, we've got Nintendo on board. We're giving you like a Netflix.
It's big, man.
It's humbling, but when you do that, you realize, hey, man, like playing for the gamer sometimes is good. So I'm not saying that Microsoft is
providing the gamer what they want from a value perspective is always good. Designing for what the gamers want, never good. But
yeah.
Providing for them from a value perspective is always. It's why Steam was successful. It's why every generation of console has to learn that lesson.
And Microsoft hasn't won. They're still second place to PlayStation because
from console perspective, yeah,
from a money perspective. But I honestly, while Sony might have the better single player story driven games, God of War, Spider-Man, The Last of Us, Horizons, I mean, you name it, for single player is killing it on Sony. But when it comes to online play, like me playing with my friends,
you're on the live.
I'm on Switch or on live. And those two play together, and Microsoft knows that.
And I think, and they're going to be big moves, man. I think having live on the Switch as a sort of app you could download, it's going to be ridiculous. Even you playing Breath of whatever, the newest Zelda on your Switch, hanging out with me on live while I'm playing Anthem, it's going to be sweet. That's going to be cool.
I mean, look, if it just gives me achievements, that
nice
alone would
social.
It would be a way for Microsoft to go, or Nintendo to go, we don't want to add that to our online service, but if someone else wants to, sure, go for it. Or hey, I'm playing Breath of the Wild or Splatoon 2 or whatever, you can be logged into Xbox Live, and just like when I'm doing whatever on my PC and it shows you playing Overwatch,
yeah,
it'll say that.
I know you're on the Switch. It'd be awesome.
You're on my PC, or I'm playing Breath of the Wild. You're on my Switch, but you're logged in. You know where I am in the gaming centric circle.
And I could be like, oh, he's gaming right now. Hey, Joe, get off the freaking Switch and play some Anthem.
Let's play some Anthem or whatever. And then I would get a notification, like a Microsoft notification or an Xbox notification on my Switch going, he wants to join this game. I mean, look, that might not happen, but
it's going that way.
Look, another big thing that I thought about when this announcement was, this is a way for Microsoft to get the handheld without investing the money in the handheld.
Yes, why not? They don't want to be a hardware company. Microsoft doesn't want it. It's soft. They want to be software. They don't want to be. This is great. This is going to be great. I mean, I might buy Nintendo. I might buy Xbox Live, Nintendo Switch, the nice like Xbox Nintendo Switch edition. The heresy. It just saying that out loud.
It's weird, man. It's definitely weird. It's definitely weird times.
2020 Halo Switch. That's the
it's like 2002, 2001 all over again, 2000ish, when the first Sega game showed up on a new system. When it wasn't on a.
You're like, I'm playing Sonic on this.
I'm playing Sonic on PlayStation 2, or I'm playing Sonic when I got to play Sonic the Hedgehog, any Sonic game. Sonic Adventure 2 came out on GameCube, and I was like, what? Like, what is going on here? How did this happen? How the mighty have fallen.
Sega was definitely one of those systems.
But this isn't saying that Nintendo is losing or Microsoft is losing. It's just sometimes partnership creates Voltron.
Yeah, and it's going to work out great. It's going to be great. Can't wait. I can't wait to see where it develops. Microsoft is, of course, not giving any news. I read this on Polygon, so good news story from Polygon. They may have broken it. I don't know, but I read it on Polygon.
No, first. Yeah, it's and again, if you want to read it, it's the story says Microsoft preparing to bring Xbox Live to iOS, Android, and Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, it's going to be cool.
That's a weird one. I think E3 is going to be big. This is a really weird year. E3 is probably going to have a lot of this kind of stuff mentioned there. This might have been a very, very bad year for Sony to skip E3. They are skipping E3. Remember that.
Yeah,
They will
we'll see.
not have a presence at E3.
Maybe it was a good strategy for them. Who knows? They didn't have anything that can compete with this. Why show up and be told, right? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So we got a little bit of time left. What do we want to cover?
Man. Geez. I've been so busy with work. I know I haven't played any tabletop. I will say though, look, let's talk about your tabletop experience, because I know you've got something, and I want to talk about something right at the end of your end of your.
Sure. So we just we took a long break due to the reasons why I missed my show last week and things like that. I've had to postpone our D&D start for a couple weeks. And then the holidays, of course, was right in between. So we actually haven't played since, I want to say, like mid-December or early December. So 5, 6, 7 weeks, 8 weeks. So we had our first session back yesterday. And I've been thinking about this, right? So we ended back in December mid-adventure, right? They were pulling, my group is more of a heist team. They were going to pull a heist, and we had to just stop mid-heist, right?
Right.
So I said, all the tension, right? So when you're a DM and you're trying to be a good DM, you're trying to build up tension around this adventure. You're trying to drain resources and make the players feel like they're struggling to get to your adventure. That way at the end, it's just that much sweeter. All of that's gone, right? You take an 8-week break. People even barely remember their own character's name, right?
Yeah. No, it happens. I can't. I took 3 weeks off from my campaign, and I couldn't remember where they were. So
yeah. You just lose track of things, right? So so I talked to the players, and I was like, hey, listen, guys and gals, what I'd like to do is I'd like to try something new. I'd like to try something we've never tried before. It might not work. It might suck. It might be awful, but I think it could be cool. So I wanted to take sort of a cinematic, like imagine like a Game of Thrones or something where they had that sort of mid-season break and they want to bring you back with the bang, right?
Right.
So I asked them if they were willing to do this whole entire adventure, the heist, in flashbacks, right? So I presented to them. I was like, all right, listen, here's the deal. You're on your ship, because they have an airship. And I'm like, you guys are on your ship, the Equity. You're all beat up, haggard. You've got like 1,000-yard stairs. Clearly, you've been through some trauma. You've been through some trauma and damage, and some bad things happened when you pulled off that heist, right? So imagine like a TV show. This is the bumper. This is the very beginning where you're like, oh, this has been so long since I watched the show. What's going on? You're like, wait, I thought they were doing something else. What's going on, right? And then you sort of reveal.
So it's the spoiler that they all made it.
They all made it.
But
I asked them, I'm like, did you succeed? And they said, yeah, we succeeded. So they made it, and they succeeded in the heist. But yeah, there are repercussions now, right? So, and then I had a couple notes based on each character's sort of background on things I could sort of push on them, like a bang, sort of make them think harder, sacrifice more, make their game more difficult. And then I just set a scene. I'm like, oh, your character is right here. What happens? What's going on? Oh, your character's right here. What happens going on? And I swear they took to it like pros. Like all of a sudden I had a writing room where each player was really pushing the boundaries of, we went Empire Strike Back. Like families showed up and they betrayed their family. They took risks they would never take with their characters before, because they knew that we would all have to work together to tie it out. So they were on that Equity. They were back on their airship at the end, right? So like they could do things like run into balls of fire and take chances
because they knew they were alive.
They knew they would succeed at the very end. So so they did just crazy stuff, and the whole campaign, we've had this. I started the campaign. One of the ways I started a campaign was an explosion. I always like to start something big, right? So we started this campaign with a huge explosion in their starting town. The Wizard Tower blew up, and everyone in the city had a vision of the world being frozen over, and amorphous, sort of shadowy creatures marching past frozen cities, right? So they had this vision of the whole world being frozen over. In this session, we've had this MacGuffin called the Rod of Seasons, which can control the weather. So one of the characters used it and powered it by sticking it into the earth itself. So it absorbed the power from the Earth, and of course, what happens? They froze the Earth. They created an ice age in their particular area of the world. So the players themselves made this happen, and now, of course, the vision has come true, and now we're on the last final arc. And they did this voluntarily, Joe, which was the amazing part to me, right? So, like,
so let me recap, just because I'm trying to piece this together.
Sure.
You showed them at the very beginning this vision of the world ending, and this
in a frozen wasteland. Yep.
And this heist scenario made them use this item that caused that. So this is now post-apocalypse.
Yep. This is post-Ice Age. They've created a magical Ice Age over Faerun and plunged the entire continent into winter.
Oh.
So now they're going to try to undo it, right? So that's right. That's and this was one of my notes, right? I wrote it down. I'm like, how do I make them use the Rod of Seasons? Like, how do I keep pushing them in the flashbacks to get them to use it? And one of my players was like, well, I'm going to use it. So here's what happens, right? Like right away, he and we all worked together to push that cinematic moment where, you know, everything bad was happening. Brothers were dying, sisters were betraying them. They were all revealing each other's cards, and he used the rod. He stuck it into the earth and froze over the world. It was fantastic.
This rod, what are the on paper stats of this? Obviously,
so it's a DM MacGuffin. It's the Rod of Seasons. I wrote down a couple stats, but it's dark necrotic. A lot of my artifacts are real dark, especially when they're super powerful. So it can only be powered with blood magic or life energy, right? So you have to charge it before you can use it. And what it does is it just controls the weather for a certain region. It's an old infernal artifact, and the way my backstory is, some ancient empire used it to basically conquer. They would show up to cities and be like, pay us tribute. The city would say no, and boom, winter, droughts, right? This weapon is a very powerful weapon. And the players found it almost by accident, and now they've had it for the adventure, afraid to use it, and it got stolen from them. And the people who stole it charged it, right? So the heist involved them trying to steal it back before it could be used, and of course the heroes wound up using it.
Oh my God, dude!
It
was so
but
funny.
They did it willingly. That's
your campaign is phenomenal enough that I would watch that show.
It's a real collaborative effort, and I would say I'm super lucky. And I was just telling Adam, who's in our game, it would not work if I didn't have players who all trusted each other, right? And also were willing to sort of push the boundaries a little bit, right, on what D&D can do. So, like, we rolled the dice a few times, but since it's flashbacks, it's sort of a weird.
You can't fail.
But you could fail.
You could fail, but the failure would still succeed. You wouldn't die. None of the consequences would be death. They would just be
sacrifices.
Like I could imagine showing that flashback there, and then, like, just here's an example, like something happens, they run into a fireball, like you said, they're willing to do that. One of them loses an arm, and then like in that flashback, it shows them, and you know, you go back to it and you realize that they're like got a cloak on, and you kind of move the cloak, and one is missing an arm.
Dude, see, this is because you've watched TV, and this is a cinematic nature. We had a character, Lady K, who due to being too close to the rod being used, she had to give up some of her life energy. She lost an eye, and her face tattoo was burned off. So it's a magical tattoo that was put on her face. So now she's just got scars over. We didn't start the session with that when we sort of had that moment, right? So now she's revealed herself. I imagine this moment where she pulls back her hood at the end of the episode, and her eye's gone, right? So,
dude,
so yeah,
I've written that better with a committee. Like, that was perfect. Like,
I did write it with the committee, right? So my players were great.
D&D.
We had this. I often
players.
Say
good players.
Yeah, they're very good players, and I treat my D&D games as cinematic, right? So I'm like, oh, this is a season, this is a show. Here's our bumper. So I try to use the terminology so everyone knows they should be as dramatic and like they should be thinking of their scenes as moments in an Avengers film, moments in a grand film. And this was just this session with this flashbacks, and I took away all the fear of failing overall, and they just went for it. It was a blast. It was crazy. It was absolutely insane. And then a lot of times I was just like, oh my God, did they read my notes? What the hell's going on? They knew exactly what sacrifices I was expecting them to give up, and they did it. So it was great. Fantastic session.
So you led them enough to know that that's where they might end up, and they still ended up there.
Well, yeah, and I knew, like, if I was writing the story by myself, I knew that I wanted to end with the Rod of Seasons being used because it tied so perfectly to the first session, but so did they, which is the amazing part, right? They knew the rod would have to be used, and it was either the rod was used by the enemy or they used it and they used it. It was great. Absolutely fantastic. Good stuff, and I'm looking forward to next week, right? I'm just like, what's going to happen now that the world... I was talking to Adam, I'm like, maybe we could do like a Return to Jedi moment where like time has passed, 5 or 6 months have passed since the Ice Age has started, and they're trying to recover, and the world is trying to recover. Yeah, because there's magic. It's not like you're going to die during the winter in a magical where you can literally cast a spell and create food, right? So it's not.
Right.
It's just a select group survive it. We'll see. So I'll talk to them about whether or not they want to do time passes or go right to the next sequence.
So let me talk a little bit about my tabletop real quick, just because
another drink.
I need to. Oh, dude, please, yeah. All means. I've got training tomorrow. Dude. All right. So this is something that I picked up at PAX South that I didn't talk about, or not my PAX South episode, but I want to talk about it now. And it's because this is where my campaign is going.
Mm-hmm.
And if any of my members of my D&D group are listening to this, either stop it or you can listen, but I'm not going to give you enough to know.
Yeah, pretend.
So here we go. I met, and I'm not going to remember names here because it was, a flash in the pants conversation with the individual, but I'll look it all up and plug some links down below.
Sure.
But and you're a big reader of the D&D world and that kind of stuff, and Reddit groups and all that. Have you heard of Swordfish Islands? It was a Kickstarter back in 2017. It was a campaign, a fan-based fantasy campaign based on 5e.
Oh, cool. No, I've never heard of it.
Right. So Geek and Sundry did a story on it in June called The Best Fantasy Campaign You Haven't Heard About.
Well, there you go.
Swordfish Islands. And it's an island, kind of piratey base, kind of tropical base, but the island obviously has... the island is a full campaign, hex-based. One of the first things you find when you start this campaign is a full book, which is an item, which you could have bought or gotten at the Kickstarter, and it's like a journal called the Field Guide to the Hot Springs Island. So it's a physical manifestation item that you can then give to your party.
I love a prop. I love a good prop.
Yeah. So that's what it is. My party has been playing the intro starter set story for almost a year now. Almost. I say about 8 months now. And I'm tired.
You should be almost done, right?
I'm tired of it. They're never going to get to They're never going to get to the end of it, and I think it's time to reshift them to something new, something more exciting, something that I don't know the ending to, even though they've already made up their own arc or whatnot. I've found a way to tie it all together.
Oh, nice.
In my last session, they
had to fall through a portal.
No, they were at Old Owlwell, and they decided to talk to the necromancer. And they decided to take his mission, if you're familiar with this. And they were going to go ahead and go to talk to the Banshee. But they were like, we are tired. We fought. Let's camp. And I was like, yeah. They talked to the necromancer and was like, hey, can we camp here? And I was like, sure, you can do that. But be wary. I'll have my undead around, but I'll make sure they won't attack you. So... they camped against Old Owlwell's got a lot of ruins and walls.
Sure.
And I planted an item in one of the walls. And they found there was a skull on the wall, like embedded in the wall, and the skull looked different than anything in the wall. And it had a compass rose behind the skull. Very, very generic story. And they had the bowling ball, the skull. Stick their fingers into it and click it, and eventually the jaw opened up, and inside of the jaw was a map and was the field guide to Hot Springs Island.
That's awesome. So they're like, let's do this instead? Are they totally on board?
I mean, they're probably going to go and do the Banshee, but they are definitely going to pull this string. And as soon as they pull this string, all the other strings will go.
That's awesome.
Travel. I will
wave up of mine, right? Just get the heck out of there.
Yeah, like it's done. I've done it before. They don't seem too interested in going towards that route. They keep wanting to do the side quests.
Because they're video gamers.
They're video gamers. And you know what? I'm going to point them into a new, more exciting story world. And so this particular individual, I met one of the creators. He was very excited to talk to me about it. And I will give you more without.
I'd love to see the link.
But I'm gonna post a link to the Geek and Sundry story, and I will share it. I asked permission. I was like, hey, can I give my purchase PDF to someone else so that they can run it there? He was like, yes, go for it.
Oh, cool.
So I told him about I threw my card down, and so I bought the PDF version of it. Even though he had the physical copies, he only had a few left, and they were a little out of my budget by Sunday afternoon at PAX. But hopefully he shows up to PAX East. I asked him, and he said he didn't know yet. And if he is, and if he's got anything available, I will buy the physical version of it. But I've been reading a little bit here and there. And the way he described it is there's a lot of new monsters, but they don't have any stats because eventually he will get stats. What they are is they pair. They might have the same stats as something else.
Like a hobgoblin.
Hobgoblin. So he's just kind of
yeah.
He named them something else and might have the same stats, but they might have new attributes, kind of thing. So that's cool. That's how we did it. And it's island based. And this island, he's got the full map with a hex kind of layout, so you can kind of map them along
each
hex. And it's good. It's good. I was very impressed with his pitch. He was very excited. He had good artwork, and I was like, you've got a fan base 5e campaign that no one else has really played. I will totally play that.
Let's do it. And it's my dream, I think, to be a player in a hex-based dungeon crawl kind of game, right? Where you're exploring woods, coming across ruins, looting them, and going to the next one. I don't think anyone else wants to play that game. Or no one wants to run that game for me. I think I'd love to have someone else run it for me, because I don't know that anyone wants to.
What's that awesome board game that we played that's very D&D like, where it's kind of a dungeon with the big demon or something coming at you? We played it once before, where really colorful tiles.
Descent?
Man. Was it Descent?
Where I built a small map and it had like special dice with.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Descent.
Descent, but it's dungeon based, like it's dungeon crawl. You're going through and you keep going down, further down into this. You're descending, right? Isn't that what it is? Like, no, is it just in and out kind of thing?
Yeah, Descent is like 1 or 2 maps per.
You build them with tiles, right? Like,
yeah, you build them with tiles. What game are you thinking of?
I think that might be it. And
all right.
Confusing a little.
This was like pre-formed maps, and then usually a quest has 2 encounters. It's great. I mean, it scratches a certain miniature combat itch, but it's no role-playing game, right?
It has that combat dungeon diving kind of scenario where you're running from some sort of monsters or things that might come in per room or whatever. Exactly. So it reminds me of Diablo in a tile base,
in a video game sense,
which is interesting because Diablo is very D&D based, where you're kind of dungeon delving, you're going deeper and deeper.
Except it's all action, but yeah, totally.
Yeah. So, I would totally play a campaign where it's just one big dungeon and you're just going through this.
I'd love it.
Layers,
and like you're worried about if you have enough torches to get back. Like that's the kind of game, that's the kind of tension I would love to play, but running it.
I don't want to run it. It's so stressful. I get it, man.
You have to force your players. How many torches do you have? How much food do you have? Do you have enough water? Like, that's such boring questions to ask. You always want to be more exciting. But I'd love to play that game where I'm like, I know exactly how much.
Well, that's interesting. You talked about that, and we're almost done here. But I think you hit something that was a good itch that I think other DMs should pick up. You gave us the ending.
Oh yeah.
So what if you gave us, you ran a campaign where you knew the ending was you will die. You are going to die.
So we can talk about this next week, but and write it down so we do. There are some great role-playing games that deliver exactly that feeling. I don't know that DM is like you could do that week to week. Like I don't know that you could build a
maybe like a good example would be like and again I'm crossing the streams with multiple different things, but Infinity Blade, if you remember that like little mobile game made by Epic.
It was like a Diablo ripoff, right?
Sort of, kind of. It's more, you know what? The base of the game was you played a hero. The hero would get further along the story. You'd then die. And then 30 years later, your protege, your son, would then have those powers and you kind of keep going. What if this was the story being told by maybe a son or a daughter or whatever of the adventure that you play, of a legacy style where
I think there's a role-playing game that exactly does that.
Probably, and nothing I think of could possibly be.
No, I'm not disparaging.
No, but I mean, just play that like dungeon. You know you're gonna die at the end, but your consequence, your sacrifice, whatever you did in that dungeon,
would make it awesome. Yeah. I think the freedom of knowing that by the end of the session you'll be dead. There's a couple of cool games that do think that play around with that concept here and there. And really attempt to give players freedoms to do crazy stuff, right? That's the
because I mean, you're
cinematically crazy stuff.
You did pull that like invincible tag with your party by telling them that they were going to be alive on this ship at the end, but now you've got to tell me what happened from point A.
And also by I think by creating the narrative by saying that you all were not talking to each other and it was clear you'd been through some shit together, by telling them you succeeded, you got out, but you've been traumatized, they were more than willing to be like, okay, we can work with this. How do I traumatize myself just enough where the DM doesn't feel like I need to be traumatized more? And they totally did it. Like it was great. Like I was like, you did it to yourselves. Like the best demons are the ones that make humans torture themselves, right? And that's at the table. It was great.
You gave them invincible power. You unlocked that game genie code, but then at the end of it all, it was like,
what was the cost?
What was the cost? Yeah. No, totally. I'm excited.
It was great. It was great to reboot the sessions like that, and we're starting up again next week. So it was fantastic. And I saw you texted me the link, so I'm excited to check it out.
Check it out. I'm gonna post it on here. We'll talk about it more after you've read a little bit on it.
Yeah.
I've read a little bit more on it. I don't want to divulge too much, but I definitely am interested in what you think. Just because A, you run games, and B, you might like a little on what this is pulling. I thought this when I saw this guy, I was like, I thought of you.
Oh, awesome. Love it. All right, dude.
All right, guys. So this is what did I say? Episode 16. Episode 16. We're done. I will be back next week in my cozy office, maybe with hopefully no lag or anything like that. If there is any here.
If the sound got a little off, my computer was making sounds. And...
Yeah. Don't worry about it. We're doing the best we can on the road, guys. Please like, subscribe, share. Please talk to us. Hey, we're lonely. We want to hear what's going on. Let's what do you think about this Microsoft thing? What do you think about this Nintendo thing? What do you think about this Apex game? Like, what do you think about did you play the demo for Anthem?
Yeah, bring it on. Talk to us. We're on
put your name on there. Say, hey, I want to play with you guys. We'll pick up the game, and give it a try. Are you interested in Division 2? What are you looking forward to? We've got a few months till E3.
All right, Joe, we don't want to interrogate it. Don't come on too strong. We're trying to make
I love them all. I want some conversation, guys. So let's talk.
Like us, love us, post, reply. I feel like I'm getting better about replying on things, so please do it, being part of this team. So do it. This for me personally, this has made me a little bit more socially aware of the fact that I tend to ignore people's posts, and I'm trying to be a lot better about it. Not yours, of course, but my friends. So I'm trying to be a little better about it and reply to people and be great because I want to have that conversation with you. So like us, love us, share us, talk to us.
All right, guys.
Us online.
Yeah, absolutely.
Episode
guys,
16 we can. Thank you.
Love you guys.
Love you
Bye.
too. Talk to you later.